Guys, so I thought I would make a video about my mum. Where do I even start? My mum was my bestest friend in the whole world, and she was sadly diagnosed with cancer, and she didn't live very long after we found out. So I've put up a Q&A on my Instagram, and I'm going to go through the questions. So firstly, I would like to start by saying that my mum and I had this special bond, and we did everything together, and it was just one of those friendships that you can't explain. We were literally like soulmates, and we just always knew what the other one was thinking. It was so incredible, and it was something that I'm so grateful that I have lived through. And I know that there's some people that don't have a mum or they aren't as close to their mum, but I can honestly say I'm so grateful for the mother that God gave me, because she was absolutely incredible. I've had a really bad few days because I've missed her more than ever, and I miss her every single day, but I can honestly say that these past few days I have missed her even more. So let's get into the video. When was the first time you realised she was going to die? Okay, so I would say it was when my mum got an infection, and I was at work and I called my mum and she wouldn't answer the phone, and I was so worried about her all day. And I remember it was 5:30 and I was like, I need to get out of this office and I need to go home. And when I got home, I saw that my mum was really poorly, and she was laying in bed and she had a really high temperature. And I sort of just decided that day, I don't think I should be working anymore. I don't think that I can work anymore, but that's a different question. So I called an ambulance, and they came and said to me, you know, she's really sick, but we're going to give her some antibiotics, and if it's not better in the morning, then we need to go to the hospital. So it wasn't better in the morning, and my boyfriend at the time and I drove my mum to the hospital, and we sat there with her all day, and she was just so sick. And I remember saying to her, like, do you think you're gonna go? And she was like, no, don't be silly. Like, my mum was a very strong person, and I think she just fought through things that most people wouldn't be able to fight through. And she was like, no, don't be so silly. I'm not going anywhere. I'm staying here. And I was like, okay, fine. So they then said that she needs to be admitted into hospital and that she had a really bad infection. Seeing my mum like that was honestly so scary. Like, it was just awful. I just remember being so scared, and I went and visited her every single day during visiting hours. I just did everything I could to make it as normal as possible for her, because I know that my mum was someone that loved normality, and she didn't like people making a fuss over her, even though I always made a fuss over her. I made the biggest fuss of her. But yeah, I'd say that was probably the first time I realised that my mum was very sick, and I sort of came out of that in denial phase, and realised, like, Shakina, you need to wake up, because your mum she's not going to be here for very long. What was your relationship with your mum? Like, I can see you were close, so I've already touched upon that. We were literally soulmates. What was your favourite memory with her? I would say my favourite memory with my mum, I have so many, but I think one that really stands out to me is the Rugby World Cup. So I'm from South Africa, so we support South Africa when they play in the rugby. My mum was so into it, and so was I, and so was my whole family and my ex-boyfriend at the time as well. And we literally would sit there and watch the rugby, and then we'd go to the pub after, because South Africa kept winning and they won the World Cup that year. And I remember when they won it, my auntie was quite poorly from cancer. This was before we knew my mum was sick. This was the month before. And I remember saying when they won, like, they won for Nikki. And turns out they won for both of them. But yeah, my mum laughed so much during that time. And I remember we all went to the pub, and when me and my mum had a moment outside together, we were just being so silly and laughing. And I think that was just us. That was literally just us. Everything we did together was silly. Like, and me and my mum had this weird thing about unicorns. Like, we just it was so embarrassing, but we just loved unicorns. And we would call each other Uni, and we had called each other Uni for so many years, and no one understood why, but we understood. It was so funny. We had so many memories, and there were so many times where we would just lay in bed and just laugh about the most silliest things and just scroll through TikTok, and as long as we were next to each other, it didn't matter. And we just had amazing memories. I think there's so many that it's so difficult for me to actually just say which one, but I've got some good memories with her that I will cherish forever and ever. How did you find out? Okay, so my mum sadly passed away of bowel cancer and metastasised to the liver. I remember my mum was complaining for a long time, saying that her stomach was hurting and that her stool was just not right. There was something wrong. And this was before anyone had known. My mum was like, Shakina, like, what is going on? Can you please just, like, look and just tell me? And I said to her, like, straight away, Mum, that's not normal. We need to go to the doctors. And we went to the doctors to pick up a stool sample. And I remember I had a urine infection as well at the time, bit TMI. And I went and picked up my wee pot, and she picked up her stool pot. And I remember I was just laughing about it, going like, what is wrong with us? We then took it back. They lost it 3 times. 3 times. So it took so long for them to even see that there was something or anything. And by that point, I think she was in so much pain that we contacted her old doctor from when she had cancer previously, and he organised for her to go and have a scan. And we went to that scan, and my mum just said to me, she was like, Shakina, I know something's wrong and it's not good. And I kept saying to her, Mum, just be positive. Like, my mum was the most positive person ever, so to hear that she wasn't being positive was so weird and scary. And I was just like, no, you're going to be fine. Like, it's probably just an infection or it's something silly. And they said to her that there was nothing wrong in the scans, and I was like, I told you. And she kept complaining, saying that there was something wrong, she was in pain. So I was like, okay, fine, we need to organise a biopsy. And okay, so we organised a biopsy, and they did the checks on her, and they said that they found something, but they hadn't told us, and they were very brief. So we were like, okay, it's probably something small. So I went to work the next day, and I got a text from my mum saying, can you call me? So I went to the toilet and I called my mum, and I could hear that she was crying. And I think the shock that went through me, because I instantly knew, something was wrong. And she just went, I'll never forget, she just went, Kina, it's back and they can't get rid of it this time. And I remember being in that toilet and just feeling like my whole life had come to a standstill. And I just sat down against the wall, and I just remember thinking, like, my life is going to change forever now. And that I was going to lose my mum. But then in the same breath, I was still so in denial. I was like, no, this isn't going to happen. She's going to beat it because she's done it before. I know she can do it again. I just know it. I went straight home from work, I got a cab, and I remember the cab journey felt like 6 hours. It was only an hour and a half, and it honestly felt like 6 hours. There was so much traffic, and all I wanted to do was just get home and hug my mum. How old was your mum? So my mum was 51 years old when she passed away. So her birthday was on the 29th of April, and she passed away on the 5th of May. So that was 6 days. She passed away 6 days after her birthday. It was difficult. It was really, really hard, because I think now I sort of relate her birthday and her passing day as one. So I can never celebrate her on her birthday, because I get so sad, because I know that she passed away 6 days later. And that's quite difficult. That is really, really difficult. I don't know if that's just me, but I feel like because her birthday and her passing day are so close together, I couldn't even celebrate her birthday with her. Do you believe you will see her again, / in an afterlife? So I don't believe in an afterlife, but I am a Christian, and I do believe that we will reunite in heaven again one day, and I will see her as the healthy person that she was, and we will just sit there and have the biggest catch up ever. And I just can't wait for that day. I think that is what I live for. And to just hug her, what I would do to hug my mum, honestly. I just hug her, touch her, like feel her face. I think about that so much. I think about feeling my mum's face and just her breath. I know that's so weird, but just like her breath, knowing she's breathing. It was just... So what did you do / wish you did for her? So I became my mum's carer, and I did absolutely everything I could to make the last few months of her life as comfortable as possible. So I organised all of her doctor's appointments. I spoke to all her doctors, and some people tried to get involved, but she hated that. My mum absolutely hated anyone trying to get involved in this but me, and I find that so funny. I remember actually this one time I was in Scotland climbing a mountain, and she felt quite poorly, and I remember I was nearly at the top of this mountain, and she called me and she was like, "Shakina, I don't feel well. Can you please help me? Like, you need to speak to an ambulance or a paramedic." And I said, "Mum, like, of course I would do anything for her." But I was like, "Mum, could you not ask someone, you know, that's at home or someone around the area?" And she was like, no, like, I don't want anyone else getting involved. I just want you to get involved. Can you not tell anyone? Like, she was just so adamant that I had to control everything for her. And I just think that is the most special thing ever. Got to the bottom of the mountain. I said, "Mum, give me an hour and a half. I will run down this mountain and I will call them and organise it," which I did. So I sort of did everything for my mum that I could. There's a lot of things I won't say that I did, because for her own pride, I just wouldn't want to ruin that for her, and I respect her so much. But I bet you can imagine when someone is very poorly, they really need you for a lot of things. So I did as much as I could for her. In the hospice, I slept there every single night for 2 weeks with no sleep, no food, because I couldn't function, because all I cared about was being this robot that made sure my mum was as comfortable as she could be. And I found the nights really difficult. I think that's something that really stood out to me, was because my mum wouldn't sleep in the evenings because she was in so much pain, and I would just sit with her and talk to her and get her water bottle for her. She had this hot water bottle that I have trauma now. I cannot deal with hot water bottles because I just have so much trauma, weirdly enough, over a hot water bottle. But she would need me to fill up her hot water bottles about maybe 6 times a night, if not more. And she would just lay there, and yeah, it was difficult. I think that caused a lot of trauma for me. I think I saw quite a lot of things that I don't think a child should see. I mean, I wasn't a child, I was 23, but she was my mum and I was her child, and although I'd do it again in a heartbeat. And I'm so glad I did it, because I think I'm one of those people that if I didn't do it, I would never ever forgive myself, just because of who I am as a person. But I was so blessed that I could do that for her, but at the same time it caused me quite a lot of trauma that I still dream about to today. Like, there's so many times where I can't sleep in the night because I see these things. Something I wish I did do for her, but I didn't. Do you know what? If I'm completely honest, I don't think there's any regrets that I have. I did everything I could for my mum. I loved my mum so much. One time actually, where my mum was staying at someone's house, and she texted me and she was like, "You can't stay here," because the person didn't want me to stay there. And my mum was so upset. I remember my mum texting me saying to me, "Shakina, I'm so upset. I just want to hug you and cry. I just wish you were here." And I think for me, my biggest regret is not caring what that person said and just going anyways to my mum. I think that sits with me because I still have the text of my mum saying to me, like, "I want you here, like, I really want you here, can you not just come anyway?" And her saying to me, like, "I wish I could just hug you and cry. That's all I want to do is just lay with you and cry." And I think that's probably my biggest regret, is that I didn't ignore that other person and go. So the question is, how have you found life since your mum's passing? Okay. Gosh, I have found life so difficult. Like, I can't explain it to anyone. I feel like half of my heart is missing. I feel like I will never ever love someone as much as I loved my mum. And I don't think anyone will ever love me as much as she loved me, because I have had bad anxiety since I was a little girl, and I actually had separation anxiety from my mum as a kid. So I think my mum not being here has really taken a toll on that, because I can't call her when I feel anxious. I can't text her. Like, I would call my mum 13 times a day. Literally 13 times a day. Like, how is that even possible when we live together? So I just call her about everything. If I ever had any sort of feeling of any anxiousness or anything, I would just call her and be like, "Mum, you need to please come and pick me up," or "Mum, can you just talk?" Or just hearing her voice would just put me at so much ease. And when I'd have my panic attacks, my mum would sit there with me and just hug me. And I had these texts of my mum from where I'd lay in bed, and she could hear me crying in the other room, and she would text me saying, "Come to mama." And I just would go lay with her, and she would just rub my arm and calm me down. And I'd always been like that since a little girl. I would always have these panic attacks and get so anxious about everything, every little thing. And I think since she's gone, it's been really difficult for me to deal with that on my own. And I know I'll be okay. I'm a very tough person. I'm a very strong person, and I sort of get on with things. And I love Jesus so much, and he looks after me. And I don't know what I'd do without him. But so yeah, I could say that I have found life after losing my mum so hard. And I don't know still what to do. I still have days, every single day, where I cry, and it's been over a year now, and I cry every single day for my mum. I mourn my mum every day. There's not a day where I don't think about her. So, what is the most important lesson your mum taught you? Marry for money and not love, because you're going to cry either way. No, I'm joking. She did say that, but that is not what. It's not a good example. The lesson my mum taught me was to be me, and that if someone doesn't love me for who I am, then they're not worth it. Because she would always be my biggest fangirl, and she would say that I have such a big heart and I have so much love to give, and if someone is treating me unfairly or wrong, it's their fault. It's not me, because I love so deeply. And when I'm sad to talk to Jesus, I think that is the best lesson she ever taught me. My mum always lived by. My mum always lived by being positive. That was her biggest thing. She would always say to me that there's always someone that doesn't have what you have. So always be grateful. Such a good question, because I remember when we found out about my mum and that she wasn't going to have long left, I remember crying, and I said to her, Mum, why would God do this? Why? And I feel awful now that I said something like that, but I think I was so emotional, and I remember saying, why did he do this? And she said to me, Shakina, don't look at it like that. Look at it in the sense of, when I was sick 8 years ago, I could have passed away, but I didn't. God gave us 8 extra years, and for that you should be grateful. I look back at that and I just think like, wow, someone that was so sick and that was dying and that knew she was going to die still said something like that, and her strength just shone through that day, and that is something I'll never ever forget. So yeah, I think that is enough for today, because I'm going to get quite sad if I speak about anything else. But I hope this video was interesting and helped you realise a little bit more of what's going on in my brain, and I hope you learned a little bit more about my mum. So thank you for everyone that asked me questions about her, and for watching.